harvest.
Welcome, Africa FM listeners. In Algiers, at the opening of the 12th high-level seminar on peace and security in Africa, Algerian Foreign Minister Ahmed Attaf said the continent has unified its voice at the UN to defend its interests. He stressed renewed commitment to African solutions for African problems and to ending Africa being sidelined in global governance, while warning of escalating insecurity in the Sahel and urging swift action to restore stability. Let's listen.
Let this edition of the Oran process can be an opportunity to renew our commitment to doubling efforts in favor of shared, collective solutions to heal our sufferings, to renew our commitment to speaking with one strong, unified voice in defending African priorities at the UN Security Council and in all forms of multilateral international action, and to renew our commitment to continuing mobilization to end Africa's marginalization in all platforms and centers where international decisions are made.
African Union Commission Chairperson Mahmoud Ali Yusuf said Africa will use every platform to make its voice heard. He called for a form of reparations by granting Africa 2 permanent seats with veto power and 5 non-permanent seats in international bodies. We now listen to his statement.
J'aimerais réitérer ici le soutien de la Commission de l'Union africaine.
I would like to reiterate here the support of the African Union Commission for all your efforts. We will ensure that the African Union mission in New York is strengthened. I cannot conclude my remarks without emphasizing the need for restorative justice for the slavery and colonization endured by Africa. This is the theme of this year, but at the same time, a reform of the United Nations Security Council that would place Africa at the table with 2 permanent seats, with veto power and 5 non-permanent seats, is part of this historical reparation. This oral forum gives us the opportunity to demonstrate solidarity and determination in order to further promote the economic and geostrategic interests of our continent.
Les intérêts économiques et géostratégiques de notre continent.
While Angolan Foreign Minister Tete Antonio, who chairs the African Union's Executive Council, praised the work of the A3+ group, which he said firmly defends Africa's interests and has become an influential force on the international stage. Let's listen to him.
Coming back to the A3 group, it must be said that the A3 has gained visibility by defending African priorities within the Security Council. This has happened despite numerous internal and external challenges, and despite the need for better coordination with the African Union. However, further progress will still be required. I believe this is where we will situate the various discussions we will have today.
Là où nous allons situer les différents débats que nous aurons aujourd'hui.
Moving now to the International Conference on the Crimes of Colonialism in Africa, which is wrapping up its second and final day. Delegates have spent the day examining the economic, cultural, and legal dimensions of colonial-era injustices, and they are preparing to adopt the landmark Algiers Declaration later this evening. For an update on today's discussions, we go now to our correspondent on the ground for more insights. Hello, Iman. How is the conference unfolding today?
Hello, Amira, and greetings to all our listeners. I'm joining you once again from Algiers on the second day of the International Conference on the Crimes of Colonialism in Africa, where discussions have intensified as delegates work towards a unified continental position on historical justice. I'll walk you through what happened on this fine day. This morning began with thematic of the second session focusing on economic exploitation and structural disposition. Participants examined how the extraction of African African wealth, unequal trade system, and entrenched dependency continue to shape the continent's development trajectory. Experts and policymakers highlighted the urgent need to redesign economic structures that will bear the imprint of colonial era disposition. The session concluded with an open discussion during which delegates from several regions shared case studies of long-term economic harm and strategies for redress. The conference moved into the fourth session, cultural spoliation and identity erasure. Speakers explored the destruction and theft of cultural heritage, the suppression of African identities, and the slow progress towards the restitution of looted artifacts. The conversations resumed after lunch, with participants calling for stronger international pressure and coordinated African action to recover cultural patrimony and safeguard intangible heritage. The extended open discussion reflected a shared recognition that cultural restoration is inseparable from the broader pursuit of representative justice. This afternoon, however, attention turned to the plenary session on legal pathway and institutional framework for establishing African Union mechanism dedicated to redressing historical injustices. Legal scholars and the AU representative outlined possible institutional models and explored how a constitutional or a continental mechanism could coordinate efforts in restitution, compensation, and the preservation on Africa's collective memory. This session underscored the importance of codifying clear legal grounds for reparations and strengthening Africa's collective voice in global reforms. In parallel to all these sessions, a number of meetings among stakeholders took place, including ministers and representatives to different nations in Africa, to discuss the legal framework and summarize the conclusion for all what's been previously discussed among them. The conference will conclude this evening with the closing ceremony and the formal adoption of the Algiers Declaration. This document consolidates the conclusion of the two-day deliberation and will be presented to the African Union Summit in February 2026 as a roadmap for the criminalization of colonialism and the advancement of reparative justice across the continent. That's all I have for now, Amira, and back to you to the studios.
So this was our correspondent Iman Noued from the CIC Algiers. Thank you, Iman. In Guinea-Bissau, ECOWAS is sending a high-level delegation to Bissau this Monday. The delegation will meet the new authorities as well as political and civil figures to discuss conditions for a return to constitutional order. The Polisario Front, represented by Sahrawi President's advisor Abi Bushra al-Bashir, will file a new appeal in European courts before year-end against the latest Morocco-EU agreement, including trade and fisheries deals. In economy, Algerian President Abdelmajid Tebboune has instructed the Prime Minister to launch official talks with Mauritania to establish Naftal service stations on Mauritanian soil, marking the company's first move to expand its activities beyond Algeria's borders. In health sector, Ethiopia has reported 12 Marburg virus cases and 8 deaths, according to media sources. DR Congo declares the end of the Ebola outbreak in the central part of the country. Now, sport to conclude, Samuel Eto'o has secured a second term at the head of FICAFOOT. FIFA and CAF welcomed the smooth conduct of the Cameroonian Football Federation's elective General Assembly held last Saturday. The outgoing president, Samuel Eto'o, was re-elected for another 4-year term. And that's all for today. Stay tuned. Up next, a special interview with the President of the Pan-African Parliament for Tune, Sepania Sharumbera, conducted by Abdelmalik Belhouchet.